kick off, I think probably now, just with some introductions. And as I said, we're going to run through a sort of 20 to 25 minute presentation, just sort of outlining the kind of early vision for the site. And then after that, we'll leave the remainder of the session for Q&A. And at that point, everyone will have a chance to switch their cameras and mics on. In the meantime, if you did have any further questions, you can use the Q&A chat function at the bottom. So just to kick things off, I'm Declan. I work for a company called London Communications Agency. We're helping run the engagement side of things, setting up these meetings and the verbal consultation that we'll be having in the new year as well. I'll just hand over quickly to David.
Hi all, I'm David from Clarion, and we're the lead developer on the Twyford Abbey project. Hand over to Lucas.
Hi, my name is Lucas Ahonda, and I'm working for Allford Holman & Morris, and we are the architects.
Hey everyone, my name is Rebecca Rogers. I work for Barton Will, and we are the planning consultants for the project.
Perfect. So Lucas is now just going to share screen. As I said, we're going to run through a quick presentation, about 20 to 25 minutes. Welcome to put Q&A into the chat box at the bottom of your screen. And obviously we're taking questions afterwards as well.
Great. So I'll kick off, just give you a bit of an introduction to Clarion. So Clarion Housing Group is the UK's largest housing association. We own and manage 125,000 properties for 350,000 residents across England and across 150 local authorities. We already own and operate properties within Ealing, and we've got various projects currently in the locality. Our mission as an organisation is to provide good quality, affordable homes and neighbourhoods to people who've been failed by the market. Latimer Developments Limited is the private development company for Clarion Housing Group, which develops open market sale and affordable homes, and all the profits are reinvested back into our social mission. Clarion Futures is our internal charity, which helps communities and supports our mission to be a responsible social landlord by doing more than just simply providing a home. Clarion Futures also invests millions of pounds every year into our residents and communities by working with partner organisations and community groups and other charities to deliver one of the UK's largest social investment programmes. For example, in West Ealing, there's the West Ealing Grants Programme, which is a 3-year, £300,000 project which offers financial support to small charities, community organisations and resident groups that provide services within Ealing. We will be delivering the new build element of the project. I'll introduce you to Reddington Capital as well on the next slide, who are our development partner, and they are looking to deliver the homes in the listed building itself. They're highly experienced in working with listed buildings, renovating and restoring them to their former glory. And we're looking forward to working together to bring Twyford Abbey back into use and saving it from its current state.
Thank you, David. Allford Holman & Morris Architects, we are the 4th biggest architecture practice in the UK. So we're working on different sectors from residential to commercial, also school buildings. This shows you some of our experience with listed and heritage buildings. So this includes some of for example, the Saatchi Gallery, but as well the Royal Court Theatre in Liverpool. We also worked on the new Scotland Yard building with a new extension to the front, as you can see on the low left image. But we also worked on the television centre, where we introduced new residential part to the scheme, commercial, but also refurbished some of the existing studios on site as well. And we also worked on the Barbican Centre, where we're now looking to do more refurbishment with the Barbican team. We also teamed together with BB UK, who are the landscape architects on this scheme. We worked with them on different projects before. One of them is the Older Centre, the Children's Bereavement Centre in Liverpool, but they also have a lot of experience with existing heritage sites such as the Monta Maggie Walled Garden, but as well other small residential schemes around the UK. I'm just going to go straight into the site. Most of you must be familiar with the site. So the site is located on the edge of Borough of Ealing. It's just boundary with London Borough of Brent, which is on Twyford Abbey Road. It's approximately 10-minute walk from Park Royal or Hanger Lane. So zoom in of the site is bounded with the North Circular to the north, Twyford Abbey Road to the south. To the east, we have the West Twyford Primary School, and then east and west of the site, we have mainly back gardens of residential buildings on Ivy Avenue and Brentmead Gardens. The main access to this site is on the northwest corner from Twyford Abbey Road. The site is in total approximately 5.4 acres of land. It comprises the Twyford Abbey existing building, the walled garden, and some smaller buildings. The buildings are all Grade 2 listed, so that includes the walled garden and some of the smaller buildings on the site. The access, which was the original access to the site, is of Twyford Abbey Road to the west, which is the West Drive, and then there's been a secondary entrance introduced in the 60s, which is the East Drive, just adjacent to West Twyford Primary School. This is the main view from the front meadow, looking towards Twyford Abbey building. The site is metropolitan open land, however, it performs very poorly as there's no access, public access to the site, and it's predominantly grassland. So the site is divided in key character areas, which I want to talk you through to understand the site. So we have them to the west, the West Drive, which guides you towards the existing Abbey building. It's mainly woodland on both sides. Twyford Abbey building with the primary elevation to the west, with the existing original building and the replica building to the north, with the 60s inset building between. We have the extension from the 60s to the east of the building, which detracts from the historical building. We have the walled garden to the north of the site, which is mainly grassland, and to the east and west of the walled garden, north of the Abbey, it's predominantly grassland with some of existing trees, which provide privacy between the rear of the gardens and north of the site. And then to the north of the site, right against the North Circular, there's the issue with pollution, but also acoustic issues coming from the North Circular. And then onto Twyford Abbey Road, there's currently no access, also no visual connection between the road, the site, or Twyford Abbey building. So the building is Grade 2 listed, but it has been put on the Heritage at Risk Register for a number of years now. It is in a very bad condition. It has been vacant since late 80s, and it's at immediate risk of further rapid deterioration to the fabric and to the main structure of the building. So you can see some images on the left hand. It's the image of the interiors as it was in 2017. So the condition of the Abbey and the walled garden has been deteriorating. There's been water ingress, which meant that some of the interiors have been lost, so most of the interior features, but as well as some structural collapse, as you can see on this image here. Based on the extend scheme in 2017, some of the interiors have been removed and the floors have been rebuilt, as you can see on the image on the right hand. There's some further images showing you the existing condition of the building. So the roof has been patched, but there's still some water ingress and further deterioration of the building. There's also some more damage to the facade, as you can see on the image on the right hand. And also some of the original paintings in the chapel have been lost. We are working together with Montague Evans, a heritage consultant, and they've prepared this sensitivity map of the site. So it highlights you areas which are very high sensible, and this is due to the existing views towards the Abbey, but as well the relationship between the Abbey, the open space, the walled garden, and the chapel highlighted here as well. So we believe that the meadow, there should be no development on the front meadow between the Abbey and Twyford Abbey Road. We also believe that there should be no development within the walled garden, but the areas north and east and west of the walled garden, which are predominantly grasslands, are helpful to basically provide the main bulk of the development, which steps away from the Abbey building and the walled garden. We also undertook a tree survey on site. So each of the trees has been carefully surveyed, and this plan basically highlights you which category of trees are on site. There are 3 Cat A trees, which are shown here in green, which we are retaining on site. There's also a number of Cat B trees highlighted in blue, which most of these trees we are suggesting to retain too. There's also a large number of Cat C or no merit trees. So some of these Cat C or no merit trees will need can be removed, and there's also a number of Cat U trees highlighted here in red, which needs to be removed as these been already damaged. We also undertook an ecological survey of the site. So this shows you the existing map. So it highlights that most of the areas on site are semi-poor improved grassland, highlighted here in purple. Already highlighted there is some pockets of woodland, which is along the West Drive, west of the walled garden, but there's also a pocket east of the Abbey and the walled garden highlighted in here. Already highlighted the issue of the North Circular and the acoustic. So currently the site exceeds the maximum dB rating suggested by Ealing. So the maximum is 55 dB, but as you can see that the northern part of the site is highly above the 55 dB. It's now at 65 dB highlighted here in red, and then it increases up to 76 dB against the North Circular. So this is one of the main constraints which needs to be addressed within the new master plan. I will just hand over to Rebecca to talk about the extend scheme.
Thanks, Lucas. So in the context of the site, the planning history, there is an extant consent from 2017, which consented a secondary school on the site, and you can see from the images there the proposals that were proposed as part of that consent. The school consent was no longer pursued on the site, mainly due to a lack of interest in bringing a private school forward. In addition to that, there's also a lack of public access, especially to the MOL, a failure to meet local demand for school places, as well as traffic issues associated with drop-off and pickup. And in addition to that, demand for local homes, including affordable housing.
Thank you. This map summarizes all the constraints on site. So already highlighted the acoustic and noise issues coming from the North Circle. There's also some of the northern part of the site which are located within flood zone 2 and 3. Really important to us are retaining the highlighted here were for the protected views and the setting of the Abbey in relationship to the St. Mary's Church. We're also not suggesting to develop any new development on the meadow, which is fronting Twyford Abbey. We'll go straight into very early design approach to the site.
Great. So yeah, so there's no longer being a private school on the site, and our brief is for residential to help meet the local housing demand within Ealing, which will be approximately 365 new homes with around 35% affordable housing in the new build element. We are looking to provide public access to the green space to the south of the building. And we will also save and restore the listed building and enhance its setting. Alongside the landscape improvements, this will help improve the biodiversity as well, with a real focus on sustainability for the project. And we aim to keep within the extant massing envelope of the planning permission, i.e. there's no towers on the site, and the maximum heights will be circa 6 residential stories. Just to be clear, the church, St. Mary's Church, is outside of our red line boundary. I saw a comment that popped up there, and I think it's quite clear that it's outside of our scheme, but we need to be conscious of the relationship between the Grade 2 listed building, which is part of the chapel, or part of St. Mary's Church, sorry, and the Grade 2 listed building, which forms the Abbey. We've reached out to the church, and we hope to have a meeting with them face to face very soon.
Thank you, David. Sorry, because I'm presenting, I can't see any of the comments, so that's helpful. So if we just start looking at the wider context, so currently, as already highlighted, there is no public access to Twyford Abbey, so it has been cut off from its context. Basically, what we are suggesting is to create a new public route through the site, which will connect Royal Park Waterside through to Abbey Estate, and also provides a direct route from Park Royal to Alperton. So this is the current view looking from Twyford Abbey. So there's no real visual connection between the road and Twyford Abbey building. So along Twyford Abbey, there's a fence and a tall hedge. So basically what we are suggesting is to create a new opening of Twyford Abbey Road and provide new public space, a new meadow for public use in front of the Abbey with views to the Abbey. So this shows you a very early sketch of this new entrance gate. We're also suggesting to remove some of the low merit trees, which are highlighted on this image. This is the existing, so some of these smaller trees, suggesting to remove and provide then reveal the existing building, which will give you direct views from the meadow to the Abbey building. So this shows you the proposed plan. So we're suggesting it's approximately 1.2 hectares of public space in front of the Abbey, and then the new route for pedestrian and cyclists of Twyford Abbey Road along the original West Drive, pass by the St. Mary's Church, the Abbey building, along the walled garden, and then the new gate onto the North Circular, which gives you access to the 2 bus stops, one located here, one located there, but as well close access to the subway to the other side of North Circular. So as David already highlighted, key driver for this scheme is to save the Abbey building, as it is in a very bad condition and it's further deteriorating. So we're suggesting to restore the building and provide residential accommodation within the building, private residential accommodation. So this is a view, proposed view of the Abbey building from the meadow. As you can see, the trees that have been removed as well in front of it. So this brings us to the development, the proposed development. So the meadow will be clear of any new development, and based on all the surveys that we undertook, such as the tree survey, the ecological survey, but also reviewing the sensitivity with Montague Evans, we're suggesting that most of the development will be located stepping away from the Abbey building, east and west and north of the site. So we're suggesting to use the green space as a grassland, highlighted here in yellow, and also west of the walled garden, and also north of the walled garden, between the North Circular and the walled garden. So to start to the north of the site, so the main question is, how do we deal with acoustic and pollution? So we're suggesting to provide 2 linear blocks along the North Circular, but stepping away from the North Circular, there's an opportunity to provide more planting as a barrier between the buildings and the North Circular. 2 linear blocks with deck access. This building will be sealed, so all the habitable rooms, so main bedrooms, but as well the master bedrooms, will be all south facing and overlooking the Abbey building. So this shows you the existing noise survey, which I already highlighted, which exceeds the recommended levels by Ealing. And then this shows you the proposed map with the 2 buildings along the North Circular. So you can see how drastically it reduces the dB rating to the north of the site. I think there's a reduction of 10 dB overall. And as I already mentioned, that these 2 buildings along the North Circular will have these fantastic views over the walled garden. And then to the east of the site, we're suggesting 4 mansion blocks. So these will be located carefully between the existing trees, which we are suggesting to retain. There will be east and west facing. So we're trying to reduce any overlooking of the sport fields to the south. This will create a very tranquil and calm space between the buildings, which can be used by the residents. And we're also suggesting to step away with the mass from the Abbey building. So this is a very early sketch, which shows you as well one of the trees in the middle being retained. This space can be used for play. And then where currently the 60s building is located, so the wing of Twyford Abbey Road, we're suggesting to remove this building, and instead we're suggesting a wing to one of the mansion blocks, which will terminate any views of the East Drive, but we're not suggesting this will be above the existing bulk and mass of the existing wing on site. And then this will create as well a new space between the Abbey and the new building, which is shown here. So we think this could be a very interesting space, calm space. And then the walled garden, so we're suggesting to bring this back to its all glory and life. So we're suggesting that this could be used for growing plants, so vegetables or any other plants. So this can be used by the residents. And as already David highlighted, we are not suggesting any tall buildings, so nothing above 4 to 6 stories. As you can see, this shows you the X10 scheme. So this is a school building which was 4 stories, but 4 stories of a typical school is equivalent to 4 to 6 residential stories. And then to the west of the site, we're suggesting an additional block, which will be again carefully located on the green space. So we're suggesting to retain the wooded land, which I highlighted before, between the walled garden and Wentmead Gardens. We're also retaining the privacy buffer of these existing very tall trees, which are along the boundary here. And then this shows you the completed master plan. So in addition to the buildings north of the site, we're exploring the opportunity of 2 gate buildings along Twyford Abbey Road. So we believe this will frame the entrance and of Twyford Abbey, and in addition, a row of townhouses. It's 8 townhouses along the West Drive. So this shows you an illustrative image of the existing Twyford Abbey building. We're suggesting a new infill, which replaces the 60s building, which was placed between the original building and the replica wing. And then this shows you the overall landscape plan. So as you can see, we're proposing that the buildings are positioned within a park, estate. So we're suggesting retain as many trees as possible on site, but we're also suggesting to plant a number of new trees. So this shows you the existing trees on site. Already highlighted the different categories from A, B, C, and the red trees, which are expected not to last more than 10 years and will need to be removed. And then this plan shows you the overlay with the buildings and which trees will be retained. So you can see all the green trees are being retained. I think it's most of their category B trees and a high number of the grey trees as well highlighted here. Just talking about the planning strategy, so BB UK is looking, they're actually exploring what the original landscape features were on site. So we're doing quite a lot of research now, but what we're suggesting is to plant most native and very wildlife friendly species on site to increase the biodiversity. So we're also exploring any other ideas to increase the wildlife on site and any other ecological features. So there's also this idea to keep some of the existing trees, which we will remove, but keep them on site. For example, we found as well one of these trees has been left on the East Drive, and this is a fabulous ecological feature for insects and other animals. So this shows you the map with the proposed buildings and the public pedestrian route through. So I already highlighted the access of Twyford Abbey, and then the new route along the West Drive onto the North Circular, and the 2 existing bus stops highlighted here in red. And then this shows you the vehicular access on site. So this is for the the residents, but as well for deliveries. So we're suggesting to use the West Drive and the East Drive. We're suggesting it's predominantly single lane with some passing base. So you can see in some areas it has been widened to allow for trees for cars to stop. We're not suggesting that there's a loop through the site, so there's not a one-way system in and out as such. We're also looking into developing the sustainability for this site. So there's aspiration of carbon zero, carbon neutral. So we're looking like what we can include. So for example, air source heat pumps, or is there any possibility to use the heat of the earth? So for example, air source, ground source loop arrays, but we're also exploring green roofs, planting more trees, rainwater harvesting, PVs throughout as much as possible. And I think this brings us to the summary of the proposed accommodation. So I already highlighted, we're suggesting new apartments in the existing building, so that will be 30 apartments in total. In addition, we're proposing approximately 330 new residential apartments and 8 townhouses along the West Drive. So this will be a total of approximately 365 residential units. We're also proposing 35% of the new build will be affordable. There will be a large number of family units on site, which is really important to Ealing as well. We're also suggesting 65% of the residential buildings will have dual aspect. And I think this brings us to the public benefits, which David will summarize.
Great, thanks, Lucas. So yeah, we're really excited to be bringing forward Twyford Abbey, as it's such an incredible building locally. And it's really good to be able to speak with you at such an early stage, as well as people who sort of know and love the site locally. I'll summarise some of the public benefits now that the project will bring, and then we can move on to any questions. So firstly, and most importantly, we will be saving the listed building and bringing a new lease of life to the currently derelict building. As you can see from some of the photos, you can see why it's at the Historic England at-risk register, and it's only deteriorating quickly. So we need to act in order to save that building. There's a real opportunity for public access onto the open land at the front of the site, which has previously been private and inaccessible. And I think in COVID times, people are really sort of seeing the benefits of having that parkland nearby. Clarion will retain the long-term interest in the site. So we have a vested interest in ensuring that the landscape is designed safely and is manageable. This will also support the provision of new family homes in a really family-friendly setting. We have an aspiration for the scheme to be net zero carbon compatible, with no fossil fuels being used for heating on the site. It will be sustainably designed using the principles of be lean, be green and be clean. We will bring 365 new homes to the area, including 35% target for affordable housing in the new build element, providing housing for those that need it the most. We intend to retain and protect the most valuable and healthy trees, including all of the category A trees, and we have a replanting strategy to replace those that are lost. The landscape design is really important and will enhance and improve the quality of biodiversity, ecology and habitat on the site. The scheme itself will help reduce noise from the North Circular upon the Grade 2 listed building and create a more tranquil environment for the site and the retained metropolitan open land. We'll also provide apprenticeships and temporary and permanent jobs throughout the construction and operation of the site, with trickle-down benefits from the scheme helping the local economy. Contributions from the development through Section 106 and Mayoral SIL 2 means that the new homes will contribute to improving local infrastructure. So I'd just like to say thank you very much for your time this evening. As you can see, hopefully we've brought together a really fantastic team to help save the crumbling Abbey building and sensitively design the new homes in the Abbey and the surrounding area. We're consulting as many people as possible at the moment in order to gather feedback and inform our design. So this is just the first round of consultation, and we'll be able to show some more detailed designs in part 2, which is planned for at some point in the new year. If you have any comments, questions or queries, then we'll be very happy to address them now, and I'll hand back over to Declan to field those.
Great, well, thank you, David. Yeah, as we said, this will come into the Q&A portion. So just to explain, because I know some people joined as we were presenting and won't have heard me at the beginning, but for now, everyone's cameras and mics have been off just because we were recording this session. What we want to do is then have this presentation on the website as well. So now we've stopped recording, what we're going to do is just make all of you panelists, and that will allow everyone to turn on their cameras and microphones as they wish. So you'll just have to accept that when you get joined, you'll automatically have your mics and cameras off. So feel free, if you feel comfortable, to then put them on as well. I can see everyone's joining now, so it might just take 2 seconds for everyone to come on.
So there's a question in the chat about parking, which I can address. So the intention is for all parking that is associated with the new buildings and the on the project itself to be held within the site. So it won't have an impact on the surrounding streets. We're very aware of the traffic conditions on Twyford Abbey Road at the moment, and the parking sort of issues that are there. As we get through some more detailed design, we'll be able to add a bit more meat on the bones, but you can see from the drawing that